Isang makakalikasang pagbati sa lahat and welcome to this online lecture on lipids, their structure, and function. So, we're now down to our third of the biological macromolecules. We have discussed carbohydrates and then nucleic acids in our classrooms. And in the colloquium, we will be discussing about lipids. So, we have heard about lipids already actually, no? Throughout the course of the first quarter, we have heard them, no? Saan ba na natin narinig ang mga lipids na ito? So, unahin natin ang mga fat cells, no? We've mentioned this on module 3 on cell types and modification that we have adipocytes in our body. They form our adipose tissues and these tissues will actually store fat molecules, no, that are eventually used for energy as an alternative energy source, no? Recall that in the human body, we actually use glucose, which is a form of carbohydrate, as our source of energy. But at times when we lose too much glucose, no, wala na tayo ng mga carbohydrates, ang ating pinagkukunan ng energy ay ang fat cells. Okay? Yung fats na makikita sa fat cells. And then we have the cuticle, which is actually found on as a hard layer in our in our nails, no, for example. But specifically, this cuticle is a hardened waxy layer found in the plants, particularly on the upper side of the leaves and in invertebrates, no, their outer coverings, particularly their exoskeleton. So they're also found in the hair and dead skin, no, at the base of our nails. So we also have the cell membrane. Let's recall, we discussed this on transport mechanisms. The cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. Hindi lahat nakakapasok, hindi lahat ng mga bagay pwedeng lumabas ng cell membrane because of its phospholipid bilayer, no? And let's recall, ano ang katangian ng phospholipid bilayer? So the phospholipids are actually amphipathic. So may part na hydrophobic, takot sa tubig, hindi attracted to water, and may part na attracted to water, the hydrophilic head. So ito yung phosphate group and ito yung mga fatty acids niya. No, we will talk about more of the structure later on. And yan. So we have talked about this already way back in the first quarter, but this time around, we will discuss the chemistry of lipids. Okay? So for this lesson, you should be able to categorize lipids according to their structure and function, and then explain the role of each lipid type in specific life processes. So we'll start first with categorizing them, no? But before that, of course, we have to showcase first the general structure of a lipid, no? So lipids are hydrophobic. And when we say hydrophobic, takot sa tubig, no? Balikan natin, fatty acids kanina ng phospholipids, they are hydrophobic. So takot sa tubig. They are not attracted to water. No, halimbawa niya ng mga oils, 'di ba? Mga mantika ay kapag hinalo mo sa tubig ay hindi naman talaga siya matutunaw sa tubig, no? But it will actually float above the water, no? So hindi siya humahalo. So ibig sabihin, it is not attracted to water molecules, no? Kaya hydrophobic siya, okay? So it's made mostly of carbon and hydrogen atoms and a very few oxygen atoms, no? So in this diagram on the right, you can see a triglyceride, no? So triglyceride is a form of a lipid with a very long carbon chain as a fatty acid. So may tatlong fatty acids and these are made up of purely carbon chains. Puro carbon yan with some attached hydrogen in them. Okay? Yan. So, ibig sabihin, sa kabuuang structure ng iyong triglyceride, which is a lipid, karamihan na makikita mo ay carbon and hydrogen atoms. Bibihira lang tayo makakita ng oxygen atoms. No? They are very few. Okay? And ano ang tendency nito? So if the entire molecule is made mostly of carbon atoms, then bumababa yung level of electronegativity na meron dito sa area na to, no? So halimbawa, in the case of the oxygen found in here, nasasapawan siya ng pagkarami-raming mga carbon and hydrogen atoms which are relatively non-polar. Okay? Oxygen lang kasi ang polar na na atom na meron tayo dito, no? So diyan dapat magko-concentrate ang mga electrons. Pero hindi siya yung case ng lipids kasi nga kumakalat lalo yung mga electrons dahil sa dami ng carbon at hydrogen. No? Note that the carbon and hydrogen actually do not have enough difference in terms of electronegativity. Thus, they share their electrons equally. Unlike in oxygen, no, yung halimbawa sa tubig, in oxygen and hydrogen, mas maraming electrons ang makikita mo eventually in your oxygen atom compared to your hydrogen atom. And that's why, for this entire molecule, you will see that it is non-polar, mostly non-polar, no? So, each unit of this lipid, of this triglyceride, is made up of one molecule of glycerol. This one is your glycerol, and 3 fatty acids. So 3 fatty acids. This is 1, 2, 3 fatty acids connected to your glycerol. And what we call to the bond between your glycerol and triglyceride or your fatty acids would be your ester bonds. Again, the bond between the glycerol and your fatty acids are called your ester bonds. Okay? Ayan. So let's now go to the components of a lipid, no? So we mentioned earlier that this one is a triglyceride. So let's go to the fatty acids and the glycerol molecule. Your fatty acid is a long chain of organic molecule with a carboxylic group in the end, okay? So again, it's a long chain of carbon. Puro carbon at hydrogen. So this must be a side that is non-polar, no? At ito lang yung polar end niya. No, pero dahil napakarami ng mga non-polar molecules, then eventually it will become a non-polar fatty acid, no? So this carboxylic group will actually bond with your glycerol molecule to form their ester bonds, no? So ito yung magbabond later on, no, sa inyong glycerol. This one is your glycerol, no, and it has 3 hydroxylic or hydroxyl groups, no, OH groups. Ito yon, oxygen and hydrogen, and another oxygen and hydrogen. When it bonds with the COOH of your carboxylic group ng iyong fatty acid, then it will form ester bonds. And can you recall what type of reaction is that? No? It is dehydration synthesis, no? Let's recall that dehydration synthesis also happens in your carbohydrates and nucleic acids. In the case of lipids, no? Ano ang dapat mong ipagsama to make a bigger triglyceride? So there are 3 fatty acids and a glycerol molecule. And this reaction will not proceed without a catalyst or an enzyme. Okay? So after nyan, magbabond sila to form 3 ester bonds. So kapalit ng 3 ester bonds are 3 water molecules that are being released. Okay? So let's recall again that the ester bond is a result of the dehydration synthesis between 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol molecule. So kung 3 yung fatty acids sa kinabit mo, di dapat may 3 kang ester bonds. Okay? Tapos may 3 tubig na mawawala. And let's recall, ano nga ba ulit ang dehydration synthesis? Okay, it is an anabolic process, no, that would require energy. Okay, kailangan ng energy to synthesize bigger molecules out of smaller ones. Okay? So from smaller molecules, ipagdidikit mo sila to form a bigger molecule. And in the process, you will release water and you will require energy. Saan yung energy mapupunta? Dun sa bond na ikakabit mo. Okay? Yung energy na kailangan mo, mapupunta dito. Okay? Yung tubig, manggagaling siya dun sa OH at sa H ng isang group. And eventually, they will form this covalent bond. Okay? Yan. So in summary, in carbohydrates and in lipids, ito yung magiging itsura ng kanilang dehydration synthesis. Again, this is just a summary. You can make this on your own. No? So, reactants, ano yung kailangan mong ihalo? Tapos products, ano yung mabubuo out of the reaction? So in the case of carbohydrates, you will need 2 smaller monosaccharides to form a bigger disaccharide. And in exchange, no, of that bond that you will form between 2 monosaccharides, kailangan may lumabas na 1 water molecule. In the case of lipids, there are 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol molecule. Okay? Pag pinagsama mo yan, magkakabuo ka ng isang malaking triglyceride at kapalit niyan, yung bonds about ester bonds na mabubuo mo, no, ay may kapalit na tubig na lalabas. Okay, may 3 water molecules na lalabas. Kung ilan ang ester bonds, yun din ang bilang ng water molecules. Okay? So in dehydration synthesis, klaro to dapat sa lahat that energy is required to make that reaction occur. Okay? And enzymes are also needed. So the reaction cannot proceed without an enzyme. Okay? Let's recall what are enzymes again. So enzymes are catalysts. Okay? They are proteins that would speed up reaction. Kasi kung walang enzyme, it will take thousands of years. It will take a lot of time bago mangyari tong reaction na to. Bago yung monosaccharide maging disaccharide. Diba? So, para mapabilis yun, kailangan mo ng enzymes. Okay? Ayan. And let's recall hydrolysis. No? If dehydration synthesis is simply synthesizing a bigger molecule out of smaller ones, this time, you want to break down a bigger molecule into smaller molecules. No? So, from this bigger polymer that is bonded by a covalent bond, kailangan mo ng tubig, no, para sirain itong bond na to, no? So, kapalit niyan, may dalawa ka ng smaller molecules. Yung tubig, mapupunta na siya dito. Okay? So, in the process, you will need water and at the same time, you will release energy. Kasi yung energy ay nakastore sa inyong mga covalent bonds. So, pag sinira mo yan, lalabas ang energy, no? So, it's a process that would release energy. Okay? So, but this process cannot proceed ng simpleng tubig lang, no? So, hinalo mo yung tubig, halimbawa sa isang asukal, magkakaroon na ba ng reaction? Wala pa, no? Malulusaw lang siya sa tubig pero there is no reaction yet because in the process you would need enzymes. Okay? May enzymes pa rin na kailangan. So may dalawang role again ng enzymes to speed up reaction and to second, to lower the required energy, no? Para magtuloy ang reaction. So, 'di ba, pag walang enzyme, mataas ang kailangang energy, no? So, ibig sabihin, kailangan mo ng matinding init para mangyari ang reaction. Pero yung katawan naman natin ay hindi naman nasusunog, hindi ba? So, ang nagpapababa dun sa energy na kailangan para madurog ang mga molecules ay enzymes. Okay? Ayan. So, this is the summary of the hydrolysis. I won't take longer time here, but yeah, this is a simple summary. Again, kabaligtaran lang siya ng dehydration synthesis. No, dehydration synthesis, you form bonds. Here in hydrolysis, you break that bond. And this process actually releases energy, but this process will require water. Okay? Ayan. So, these are just practice assignments that you would like to take, no? If you want to master dehydration synthesis and hydrolysis. Okay? But don't worry, there will be no maths in your exam. Okay? So, walang ganitong mga tanungan sa exam, no? Mga math na ganito. Okay? Kagaya nito sa carbohydrates, wala rin naman. Now, let's leave the maths to your pre-calculus and general mathematics. Ano? So, ayan. I will end it here and continue this with another video.